Well, good morning, church. As I was listening to Pastor Bob's message, I was really drawn to that first point that he talked about when discussing the Emmaus disciples, the fact that God has a plan. God is in control. And I love that what it tells us in that passage, once Jesus begins to talk about himself and his life, it actually tells us in verse 27 of Luke chapter 24, that then beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he interpreted for them the things concerning himself in all the scriptures. What that's saying is, these guys, they didn't understand why God had allowed Jesus to die on the cross. They didn't understand why things played out the way they did. But Jesus, starting from Moses, so starting from the beginning of the Old Testament essentially, goes through and talks about how it all was pointing to what happened. It was pointing to Jesus coming in the first place. It was pointing to why he came. And ultimately, it was pointing to his death. And what a powerful picture that is for us today. That God, through all of history, was in control. That his plan, people didn't even realize they were going along with what had been predicted already. The Jewish people that had put Jesus to death on the cross, it's not like they had thought through, oh, this is what the Old Testament taught we would do. They were trying to do something horrible and horrific to this innocent man, and instead God used that horrible, horrific event to bring about a way for us to have that relationship with him restored. And when we look at today, it's easy to get anxious or frustrated over what's going on, and we'd like to know, God, why are you letting this happen? When are we going to be able to start hanging out with our friends in person again? When are we going to be able to send the kids back to school or go back to work? All these different things. When the reality is, we may not know that, but we do believe in a God who has that all figured out. He already knows all of these things, and we can spend this time right now actually growing closer to him, learning more about who he is, growing closer as a family. There's positive things that can come out of these horrible or harder times. And so my hope and prayer is that you as a family, that you're able to come together and really reflect on how God's growing you in this time and what God's doing in your life, because he's always active, whether we see it that way or not.